I always cherished the scent she carried when she came home from work. It was this peculiar blend of lavender lotion, printer ink, and that overpriced vanilla candle they constantly burned in reception. Oddly enough, it reassured me. To me, it was proof she'd really been at the office late again, pushing through deadlines, chasing after the promotion she promised was only a few quarters away. She worked as a senior project coordinator at a small architecture firm downtown. Stress was practically stitched into her job description. Most evenings, she'd toss her purse near the door, sigh heavily, and kick off her heels like they'd betrayed her. Tom's losing it. Rachel's useless. And if that client slaps urgent on one more email, she'd grumble. I'd nod, playing the part, while dinner sat ready on the table. Nothing elaborate, just enough to show I cared. Looking back, much of our marriage felt like that toward the end. Quiet gestures, small rituals laid down like offerings, hoping they were enough to sustain us. We had been married a decade. No children. Not exactly by choice. We tried once, but the pregnancy ended in miscarriage. Afterward, it became easier to say we were too busy, too focused on careers, on timing, on money. The truth was simpler. We were scared. And inside that fear, we slowly drifted. Even so, I never thought we were falling apart. I told myself we were just coasting. Maybe that was the first lie I let myself believe. The day everything cracked began like any other. I was in the garage sanding down an old cabinet when my phone rang. An unknown number. I nearly ignored it, but boredom, or maybe instinct, made me answer. Hello. Hi, is this Mr. Langston? Yes, speaking. This is David Trent, Regional Manager at Whitmore Designs. I've been trying to reach your wife, Mara. Do you happen to have her updated contact details? I wiped my hands on my jeans, confused. Updated contact details? Yes, he said after a pause. She resigned from her position about 3 weeks ago. We tried her work email, but it's inactive now. I assumed she gave you her personal number, but we haven't been able to reach her. For a second, I just stood there. Whitmore, that was her firm. My chest tightened. I'm sorry, what? She resigned 3 weeks ago. It was fairly sudden. She only mentioned pursuing new opportunities. I wouldn't trouble you, but HR still needs some paperwork back to close her file. I didn't answer immediately. I could hear the faint buzz of a fly circling above and the garage door creaking in the breeze. Finally, I managed. Oh, right. I thought you already knew. I'll let her know. He thanked me, left a number, and hung up. I just stared at the phone like it might reveal something more if I held it long enough. That evening, she came through the door humming, as though nothing had shifted. I watched her remove her coat, drop her keys in the bowl, and flop onto the couch with that same exhausted sigh. How was the office? I asked, casual but deliberate. The usual, she muttered, sipping water. Tom's a disaster, and I'm basically holding that place together. My heart was hammering. That's impressive, I said. She laughed lightly. Someone's got to keep the roof from caving in. I nodded once, then asked, except didn't you quit? The silence that followed was heavy, almost tangible. Her glass froze halfway to her lips. What? I repeated myself, softer. David Trent called. He said you left the firm. 3 weeks ago. Her expression shifted in fragments, a twitch at the jaw, a tightening near her mouth. Slowly, she lowered the glass. She began, then stopped. Her eyes dropped before finding mine again. It was complicated. Complicated enough not to tell me? My voice cracked. She straightened her blouse as if smoothing fabric could fix the lie. I didn't want to burden you. The place had become toxic. It was hurting my mental health. I just stared, piecing things together. So, where have you been every morning? Her lips parted, then closed. Words scrambled inside her, but none came out. And that's when I realized, not only had she lied, but she'd grown comfortable with lying. A strange calm settled over me, a dull fog that smothered anger before it had a chance to rise. I wasn't furious yet, just stunned, as though someone had swapped reels halfway through a familiar film. She tried to walk past me, but I blocked her path. Where have you been going? I asked again. To figure things out, she whispered. I needed air. Space. 8 hours of space every day. She didn't elaborate. In the weeks that followed, the truth unraveled in scraps. Old receipts, deleted texts, hotel confirmations booked under her maiden name. Each discovery pulled another thread loose. But that first phone call, that was the spark. Everything after was just watching the fire spread. She kept insisting she needed space. As if space was something you could carry with you into another man's bed. Oddly, things didn't erupt after that. No shouting matches, no tears. We just haunted the same house like two ghosts unwilling to admit we were already gone. She moved into the guest room. I began guarding my phone. I started watching. And the moment I stopped believing her words, I began to see. Every morning, she still dressed as though heading downtown. Blazer, pressed slacks, heels that clattered purposefully. Perfume, styled hair, even a filled thermos in hand. Then she'd leave, same time, same routine, same script. The difference was now I followed. That first morning, I told myself it was paranoia. But deeper down, I knew it wasn't. This was instinct. So I waited a few minutes after she left, then drove after her. She didn't head toward the city. Instead, she took the freeway north, about 45 minutes past the skyline, into suburban neighborhoods dotted with artisan bakeries and yoga studios that didn't accept cash. She pulled into a row of townhouses with perfectly trimmed lawns, walking up to Unit 7B. She used a key. I parked a block away and waited. 4 hours later, she emerged, hair tousled, makeup wiped off, wearing a different blouse. The next day, I followed again. Same destination, same routine. On the third day, I didn't trail her. I went straight to Unit 7B that afternoon and knocked. A man answered. Mid-30s, neatly groomed stubble. The kind who wore sneakers pricier than my truck's tires and probably said, "Vibe check," without irony. "Hey," I said, calm, too calm. "I think you know my wife." He blinked, saying nothing. "Mara," I added, in case he planned to play dumb. He stepped outside, shutting the door halfway behind him. I heard movement inside, a hurried shuffle, then a woman's muffled voice before silence. "I don't want a scene," he muttered. "Neither do I." He sighed, like my presence was more of an inconvenience than a confrontation. "Listen, man, I didn't know she was still married. Not at the start. She told me you two were separated." "Of course she did. How long has this been going on?" I pressed. He rubbed at the back of his neck. "Couple of months, give or take." "A couple of months," I echoed, the words heavy in my mouth. "So she quit her job, kept me in the dark, and shacked up here with you." He winced at that. "She hasn't moved in. She rents this place. I just come over sometimes." And that's when I saw it clearly for the first time. The detail I'd missed. She hadn't fully left me. Instead, she had built herself a parallel life. She rented this apartment, maintained her routine at home, and let me believe we were still in it together. I didn't shout. I didn't raise a hand. I simply turned and left. That night, I sat at the kitchen table in the dim glow of a lamp, waiting. The rest of the house was dark, like some film noir scene where the husband already knows too much. When she walked in and saw me there, she flinched. "Rough day at the office?" I asked calmly. She froze in the doorway. "What are you doing?" "Just wondering if you need a little more time to breathe. Maybe even an extra key for Unit 7B. The color drained from her face. I braced for denial, for a storm of accusations or some attempt to shift the blame. But none of that came. Instead, she sank slowly into the chair across from me, shoulders slumped, as if something inside her had finally broken. "I didn't mean for it to get this far," she whispered. "What exactly did you mean for it to be?" I asked. "An affair? A second life? A fallback plan?" She buried her face in her hands. I didn't feel like myself anymore. I was suffocating. I needed something new. Something that didn't remind me of everything I hadn't done. I stared at her in disbelief. "So, you quit your job. You lied to me. And you built yourself an escape route." Her hands fell to the table. "Yes." Just like that. No shouting match, no theatrics. Just a quiet, defeated yes. And in that moment, I couldn't tell what cut deeper, the lies themselves or the ease with which she told them. Every morning, she'd kiss me on the cheek with dishonesty still fresh on her lips, without even a flicker of hesitation in her eyes. I stood. You need to pack a bag. She didn't argue. Didn't even ask where she should go. She already knew. Upstairs, I heard the zippers of her suitcase, the muted shuffle of clothes being folded. I stayed in my chair, staring at the blank wall across from me. What filled me wasn't rage. It was grief. Grief for the woman I thought I had married. For the life I believed we'd built. For the man I used to be, who once thought love was enough. She came down with a single suitcase, walked to the door, and left without a word. The click of the door echoed through the house. And then there was silence. But it wasn't an empty silence, it was haunted. Not by ghosts, but by things that no longer made sense. Her coffee mug sat in the dishwasher. A scarf I'd given her last Christmas still hung on the hook. Her toothbrush stayed beside mine for 3 days before I finally threw it away. I didn't cry. Not yet. Maybe I was still numb. Or maybe part of me was waiting for a message, an apology, some sign of regret. Something that said, I'm sorry for what I did to you. But it never came. What did come were emails. The first was from Jenna, her friend. It was polite, almost apologetic. Hey, I heard you and Mara are going through a rough patch. She's staying with me for a while. Just wanted you to know she's safe. A rough patch. That's what Mara called it. As if she hadn't faked a full-time job for weeks, while spending her days building another life. Then came the bills, and with them, the truth I hadn't seen yet. Her credit card was maxed out. We had linked accounts for emergencies, but I rarely checked hers. I opened the statements expecting shopping sprees or spa visits. Instead, I found rental payments for Unit 7B going back 6 months. Charges for dinners, weekend trips, hotel stays booked under her maiden name. She hadn't stumbled into an affair. She had constructed it, brick by brick, while I made her breakfast and asked about meetings that never happened. That night, I opened my laptop and scrolled through old photos. Italy, Vermont. Her birthday dinner 2 years ago, when she cried tears of joy because I surprised her with tickets to see that jazz pianist she adored. I stared at her smile in those pictures and wondered, when did she start lying? Not just to me, but to herself. The next day, I drove to her old office at Whitmore Designs. I wasn't there to confront anyone, just to see it with my own eyes. The receptionist was kind. You just missed her, she said, then corrected herself. Well, not just. She's been gone about a month now. Did she say why she left? I asked. The woman hesitated. Not really. There were rumors something about a conflict with a client. She seemed distracted for a while. I thanked her and left. On the drive home, it clicked. A client. When I pulled up our shared calendar on my phone, the one where she used to log deadlines, I saw it. A client lunch scheduled 3 months earlier. A meeting that had lasted 5 hours. The name attached, Jean Lawrence. I remembered it. That was the name on the mailbox at Unit 7B. He wasn't just some man, he was her client. That's when the phone rang again. Another unknown number. I let it roll to voicemail. Something in me already knew. Later, I listened to the message. I know who you are, the voice said. I know what she told you. But before you destroy everything, just hear me. She said she was divorced. Told me you'd left her. I only found out the truth last week. I ended it. I'm sorry. No name. Just that. I sat there, phone in hand, and something inside me finally cracked. Not in fury, not even heartbreak, just the realization that this wasn't a story with a single villain. It was a maze of lies, so tangled I couldn't tell where hers ended and mine began. Because I had lied too. I lied to myself every time I ignored the signs. Every time I let the silence stretch between us. Every time I convinced myself that staying together meant we were still in love. She wasn't the only one disappearing. I had been fading too, not into another life, but into denial, into comfort, into the illusion of what I wanted us to be. She never came back. Not for her things, not for me. 2 weeks later, I packed what was left of her belongings, dropped them at Jenna's, and left a note. Tell her I'm not angry.
Just done.
The divorce was surprisingly clean. We spoke little. I signed the papers. She asked for almost nothing, as though ashamed to ask for more. Sometimes I wonder if she truly believed she could juggle two lives forever. That I'd never catch on. That truth wouldn't eventually come crashing through. But lies always leave stains. In the end, it wasn't the affair that destroyed me. It was the fact that she could lie so effortlessly while sitting across from me, sipping my coffee, kissing my cheek. Now the house is quiet again. But this time, it isn't haunted. It's simply empty. And in that emptiness, I'm learning how to start over, not with revenge, not with bitterness, but with clarity.